Rutles' story is a legend, a living legend, a legend that will live long after lots of other living legends have died. Tonight, we are extremely proud to present the semi-legendary life story of the Prefab Four, Dirk, Nasty, Stig, and Barry, who made the 60s what they are today, the fabulous Rutles.
Hey guys, welcome back to Matthew Vinyl. Today I'll be doing an album review of the Rutles from 1978. Now, of course, the Rutles were a parody group of the Beatles that came out in the 70s. It was a film called All You Need Is Cash. It is an absolutely fantastic film. If you haven't seen it already, I do highly recommend it. Now, this is the album that came out. As you can see, it does parody with the Beatles, Magical Mystery Tour, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and of course, Let It Be, which they have done Meet the Rutles, Tragic History Tour, Sgt. Rutter's Dad's Club Band, and of course, Let It Rot. So it is a very good album, to be fair, because the music on this album is actually really good. If you haven't heard any of the songs yet, I do recommend. Now, my copy here on vinyl, this is the 2018 reissue on Parlophone. Now, it was actually originally issued on Warner Bros. Back in the 70s, but mine is a very cool Parlophone issue, which, to be fair, adds more. As many of you will know, of course, the Beatles were on Parlophone, so it is cool that this copy is on Parlophone. Now, it does come with a booklet, as you can see here, and it's pretty much the entire story of the Rutles, and it does have photos from the films and extra artwork and stuff like that. For example, here's one little page here, parodied in Hard Day's Night and Help, of course, Hard Day's Rut and Ouch. Now, this copy does actually come with a 7-inch 6-track EP. This is actually based off an original Japanese single, so they based it off that single. And this is, to my knowledge, only ever released on this 2018 reissue. And it is play at 33. That is the label there on the nice Parlophone label. And it does have some great tracks. So first of all, I will be coming back to this EP soon. I'm going to start with the album and then I'll get to this EP. It does also include this extra piece of paper here. And it's pretty much just talking about the Rutles and everything. As you can see, it's very cool. A nice little Maisie beating nod there, of course. Now, this is the inner sleeve. It does have the Rutle core. They did a banana instead of the Beatles' apple. And this has not all the lyrics, actually, but has most of the song's lyrics plus the song title. I'll show you the label. Very nice Parlophone label. As you can see there, a nice album. Neil Innes, he wrote every single song on this album. Of course, each member of the Rutles are actual musicians, of course. Ricky Fatah, who did the George Harrison character, Stig O'Hara, he was actually once in the Beach Boys in the 70s at one point. And of course, Neil Innes was, of course, in the Bonzo band in the 60s. And of course, the drummer, John Halsey, who of course plays the Barry Wom character. And as you know, Neil Innes does play the Ron Nasty John Lennon character. Of course, Eric Idle plays Dirk McQuickley, the Paul McCartney character. But of course, Eric Idle doesn't play the instruments on all the tracks. So the bass has been played by Andy Brown, but it does state here that Ricky Fatah did do some of the bass as well. Now I'll be going track by track and telling you my thoughts on the songs. The album does start with Hold My Hand, which is a great track. It's a nice mix of She Loves You and I Wanna Hold Your Hand kind of together. And it's a great, it's a fantastic track. That's meant to parody the Ed Sullivan performance. And the second track is Number One, which to me is like a twist and shout sort of thing. It has some good guitar work on that one. It's a very good sounding track. Then the third track is With a Girl Like You, which again, it's another great sounding track. It is meant to be a parody of If I Fell. And again, it is actually a very good track. And then we have I Must Be in Love, which is it's like in a Hard Day's Night sort of song, be parodying. But I Must Be in Love is actually one of my favourite songs. I think it is absolutely fantastic. It's got some very good guitar work, some good harmonies, and some good lyrics on that song. And of course, Ouch, there's no doubt about it. Like it's obviously Help, of course, in the film. They do also do like a recreation of the Help film, of course. And Ouch is actually a fantastic song. It's funny because, you know, it sounds very similar to Help, so there's not too much to it that's new, of course. But it is still a good track. And then we've got Living in Hope, which Living in Hope to me it's meant to be like a Ringo sort of song. From what I heard though, it's sort of like Don't Pass Me By, which of course with the Beatles that came out in 1968. In the film that is covering the 1964-65 period, if I might be mistaken there, but I think that's right. But it's still a great track. It's a nice catchy, in this case, a Barry track, not Ringo of course. Love Life, which is meant to be All You Need Is Love. And to be fair, it is actually quite a good version. On the Beatles version, it does start with the French national anthem. But on Love Life, they did Glory, Glory, What a Hell of a Way to Die. Which, to be fair, I think that's actually a quite funny way to do it. And yeah, it is actually quite a good track. Again, some parts do sound a bit like All You Need Is Love, but I still think it's great anyways. And then the final track on side 1 is Nevertheless, which is meant to be like a Without You parody, like a George Harrison Indian type song. And again, that one, it's way shorter than the Beatles one, because the Beatles one, I think it's like 3 or 4 minutes long. But this Rutles one, it's only about 1 minute 25, so it's not too long. But it is still good, actually. I do think it sounds quite great. And then side 2 opens with a Good Times Roll, which is like a Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds type of track. And that one, it's a very good song. It's got a good beat to it. And I think it's a really good song. It's definitely up there with some of my favourites off this album. And then we do have Double Back Alley, which is meant to be like a Penny Lane type song. And I think it's quite good. Again, like all these tracks do sound like, I won't say genuine 60s recordings, but if you didn't know anything about them, you'd think that they definitely are 60s style songs. And Double Back Alley, it's got a great beat to it. It's a very good song. And then we do have Cheese and Onions, which for that one, I can't think of an exact parody of what Beatles song. But Cheese and Onions, it's like a Sgt. Pepper's Yellow Submarine type song, because in the film it's like a parody of the Yellow Submarine film. Then Another Day, that's sort of like a Martha My Dear type of parody, and that one's great as well. It's definitely not the strongest in my opinion, but that one's still quite good. Then we have Pig in the Middle, which is definitely a parody of I Am the Walrus, and that one, it's just as weird as the Beatles one is, of course, but both still great songs. I mean, just a bit strange, as many will know, because the Beatles in that time period did turn a bit weird, but still good though. And then it does end with Let's Be Natural, which it's like a White Album sort of track. I can't think of what song that's trying to parody. If you guys know, let me know in the comments below, but I can't think of any Beatles song that I couldn't mind with Let's Be Natural. But yeah, so this album is actually just fantastic. I love this album, and I do like the Rutles a lot. They do have some great tunes, and of course Newton is rest in peace, of course. He did pass away a few years ago. There's some great things, and as you can see on this gatefold here, it has the interview with Mick Jagger and Paul Simon from the film with some information about the Rutles. Of course, I did mention the EP that comes with this one, and it does start off with Goose Step Mama from the Silver Rutles demo sessions, and that one is my favourite Rutles song. It is such a good rocker, and my next video will actually be a vinyl rip of that song, because it's fantastic and it deserves to be heard. It's absolutely amazing. Now, the second track on this EP is Baby Let Me Be from the Parlophone EP Twist and Rut. And interestingly enough, it does actually have the catalogue number, and it is the actual catalogue number for those actual Beatles records. So it does have GEP 8882, which was the Twist and Shout EP released on Parlophone in 1963. And Baby Let Me Be, it's a shorter track. It's only 1:54, and that song is actually really good. It does have a very good, nice rock and roll instrumentation. And ending side 1 on this EP, it is Blue Suede Schubert from the Parlophone LP Meet the Rutles. That track is a very good rock and roll. Again, this first side, they're all great rock and roll tracks, and if you haven't heard them, I do recommend. Side 2 starts with Between Us from the Parlophone LP A Hard Day's Rut. Between Us, yeah, it definitely does have that Hard Day's Night vibe to it. I can't really think of an exact song, but to me, it's like a mixture of a few Hard Day's Night songs all together, and it's a very good track. And the number 5 is It's Looking Good from the Parlophone LP Ruttle Soul, of course, Rubber Soul by the Beatles. It's Looking Good is a parody of I'm Looking Through You. It does have that sort of vibe to it. Of course, the Rutles version here, it's more upbeat, it's more faster. But like the guitar licks and everything, it does sound a lot like, to me anyways, to be a parody of I'm Looking Through You. And the final track on this EP is Get Up and Go, the Rutles single, and again it does have the actual Beatles Get Back catalogue number R5777. Now Get Up and Go, again, it sounds extremely similar to Get Back, and I heard that when John Lennon actually warned them that they might get sued for that, but to my knowledge, I don't think they ever did. If I'm wrong on that, please let me know, of course. But Get Up and Go, again, Very similar to Get Back, and Get Back is one of my favourite Beatles songs of all time. It's in my top 10. So of course I am very inclined to enjoy the Rutles version, and their version is quite good as well. And there you got, that is the back cover there as well. And I say the label, as I mentioned, it's a very nice Parlophone label. This was only ever issued with the 2018 release, so if you don't have this, I do highly recommend picking up the album. Now I can't exactly comment on the sound quality of the original because I do not own an original copy, but this 2018 copy does sound very great. It's got a nice sound to it. It doesn't really have any quality issues to it. On my copy anyways, my copy came absolutely perfect. The only things of course is that the EP just comes slide into one of the gatefold sleeves there, because there's two openings there, and this is such just slid in like that. However, I do still recommend you getting it. It's cool to have it on the Parlophone label because again it fits the whole Beatles parody style. And again with the film though, there's two films of course. There's the film that this is all from, in 2003 I believe, called The Rutles 2 Can't Buy Me Cash. Now that one, it's sort of like a documentary style on the original film, and of course Eric Idle is in it. He's the one who wrote it and everything. It has like footage from the films, and you know it's quite good. Obviously some of the editing has not aged well with the new technology that we've got now, you know, and it does have a lot of celebrities in it, including Tom Hanks and of course Robin Williams. His part in the film is absolutely fantastic. It's so funny. He plays a German character and it's very funny indeed. So if you haven't seen the second film, I do recommend that too. Now, in a few moments, I will actually include some clips from both films that I actually find the most funniest. Of course, I'm a huge Beatles fan, so of course I am more aided to enjoy this sort of thing. Because to me, the Rutles are sort of like, for people who are Beatle fans, I can't really see them appealing too much to non-Beatle fans unless you are familiar with like Monty Python and stuff like that. But again, that was a review of the album The Rutles from 1978. Again, all the tracks are very good sounding 60s inspired Beatles parodies, and yeah, I unironically listen to their songs a lot on streaming and on vinyl of course, because I just can't get enough of it. Of course, there was another album that came out in the 90s, a parody of the Beatles anthology. I think they called the Rutles Archaeology, if I'm not mistaken. I don't own that. Again, I only own this as of now, but hopefully one day I can find a copy of that on vinyl. But guys, thanks for listening to my review. I hope you enjoyed this. It's my first time doing an album review, so it may not have not been the greatest review ever, but I thought I'd just share this album and show the vinyl of course as well. Of course, I'm about to include my favourite clips, so enjoy them guys.
So the stories of the theft, they're not true also?
No, they're greatly exaggerated, greatly exaggerated. It's bad, you know. Things are going. But nothing like the rate that people indicate. The trouble is that people feel that because these boys are the Rutles, people can come in and just help themselves to whatever they want. And this is just not on. And we're putting a stop to this, and we are doing, you know, it's almost dried up. Things have gone. I won't deny it. Television sets. The odd car belonging to the company has disappeared, but it's not extreme, you know. Although I did come in once, I found that my office had been nicked, but it had been nicked by Ron Decline, who we'd called in to stop this sort of flow of goods from the building, so that was all right.
So once you see this stopped, do you feel that Ruttle Coal will continue into the future?
Absolutely. I feel that once we've put a stop to this sort of bit of petty pilfering, Ruttle Coal will last for a very, very, very...
Tonight, we examine the legend of the Rutles. We look at their lives, their loves, their music. We examine some of the problems that made them what they are today. And we shall also be asking some of the people who worked with them whether they were really the sort of lovable people they were made out to be. We shall be asking many people who knew them what they were really like. In those early days, there was a fifth Ruttle, Leppo, a friend of Nasty's from art college, who mainly used to stand at the back. He couldn't play the guitar, but he knew how to have a good time. And in Hamburg, that was more important.
Oh, BBC. I remember listening to them as a child. The chicken has lips. We would hear your broadcasts, and the fox is in a nightgown. I repeat, the fox is in a nightgown. You crazy people. I wonder how you won the war with these strange riddles you're broadcasting. But yet the French blew up a train afterwards. I remember my uncle said the fox in the night got and the train blew up. Yeah, I have bad memories.